Hello, and welcome to the CatCast, with your host, as always, Cat Kennison, to bring you another inspirational podcast. Why inspirational, do you say? Because it's supposed to inspire. It's supposed to inspire, and I hope it does. I've got a great topic that we're going to discuss today. A friend brought the topic up, and we were discussing it, and kind of came up with an idea that is actually a very constructive, productive idea that could lead to revolutionizing the way people travel all around the world. Very impressive, right? So the idea is North America self-driving initiative that Trump will sponsor, okay, for America and hopefully for the world to follow. But this could be revolutionizing in a lot of ways. And this is what the podcast is going to be about today. I've got an easy 30 here to do, because there's a lot of things to discuss here and a lot of things we need to think about. But the idea of this self-driving initiative for North America, so it'll cover Canada, and we'd kind of like to include Mexico too, but they are technically part of Central America. So we're just going to start with North America and Canada, the North American region, basically. Because we need Canada and America to do this together for the inter-country travel, and I think it's a responsible way to go about it in the beginning, and maybe it'll branch off, but you need a unified system for sure. So the first year of this 10-year initiative would be developing the software and the hardware for reliable, safe, self-driving vehicle transportation. And this is going to be basically a system that we want to build, because the cars are already very close to being there. So what we're talking about is now a system that engages all modes of transportation practically. This system will have ways where the vehicles can talk to each other. That way, if you come up to a four-way stop, the cars will talk to each other to decide who goes first. They've had issues with the buses, where the school buses will stop and the cars will not recognize it and go. That can easily be fixed when you have a school bus that puts out a signal when its stop things are out that you don't move, because there's children getting on and off a school bus and it's against the law. That could easily be put into the software and then hardware to initialize that. Right now the issue is these systems are not all connected together where they can actually talk to each other, and it'll be like a network, okay? That's the difference, because somebody said, well, that's already existence. A lot of these cars already have a lot of cameras and sensors, and I'm like, yeah, but the thing that doesn't exist is the network that these cars will talk to each other on, the map system. All that kind of stuff needs to be one system that all cars work on so they can talk to each other. It's a very necessary part of this. The first year, we want all the companies to get in on it and share all the tech. It's all going to be open sourced, okay, to maximize the efficiency of technology, all right? When it's all combined together, I don't know, SpaceX or Elon Musk actually shares a lot of technology with other people because they can collaborate and make it better. More minds, more thoughts, make better things. So if all these different companies work together to get the end goal of safe vehicles that actually can operate all together, that's what we're talking about. Now people are like, "Ooh, that's a lot to ask." And it is. But to get progress, sometimes you want to set goals that are hard to meet. There's a reason you do it. There's a reason you set a hard goal, because it makes you work harder to reach it. Now, they said that we couldn't get to the moon in 10 years. We did. We did. John F. K. said we're going to do it by this decade, and we did. We did. This is not going to the moon, okay? This is not going to the moon. So I think we can do it in 10 years. I really do. Especially with everybody putting the effort in together like this plan asks people to do. Now, the first year is doing all the, just basically we're going to research, we're going to, the R&D, research and development, the crap out of it. The software is going to be the biggest thing, but you're going to have computers that also work together in the cars that can send and receive information from other cars. So that'll have to be worked out. But the second year is where we actually want to get into possibly retrofitting old cars with self-driving tech, but it may not even be necessary to do that, because the way the cars are coming now, a lot of the tech is already going to be inputted into the car. So it's going to be just minor things, like maybe the computer system and the thing that sends and receives information and connecting that together. It won't be major outfitting, because a lot of the cars already have cameras and other types of devices. But it's going to be a way to network them together. That's why the R&D needs to be done in a way that hopefully people's systems can work. It has to be plugged in together. It's a very important part. In 5 years, the plan is to have the system 90% running. Okay? That means you only 10% is remaining to get done. You got this baby ready to roll, pretty much. And we will give out the tax incentives for people to go self-driving. All right? We want to start moving to self-driving. These are going to be gasoline-powered, a lot of them. It can be battery-powered too. We're not talking about going to I want to make sure the distinction is this is going to be self-driving. The other thing I want to remind everybody, we're not going to be getting rid of the drivers. You're going to have a driver there. They're not going to be doing anything in case an emergency comes up, but you will be able to take control of the car in case of emergency. If you need to swerve, if you need to speed up, brake, all that stuff you can override. If the computer takes a crap, there'll be a button where you just override the computer, right away. You can just hit that. It'd be a big button like your hazards. Because what if you have a power failure? What if your computer just goes out? You have to be able to take control of that car. All right? Now, the system is going to be designed that you're really not going to need car insurance, except for the kind where if you take control of the car and cause an accident, because really this technology is to make it where you really never are going to have to take control of that car unless a major thing happens with the car. Then you will have to take control of it, and they're going to have black boxes and everything's going to be revealed. What did you do? Were you screwing around and you took care of it because you were screwing around? Or was it that you had to actually did something, a maneuver to avoid something, whatever it is. So that's why you're going to need some kind of insurance. But if you take control of the car, you're really going to want to make sure you're protected. You may not even want to. You may just want the car to do what it's going to do. That way you're not going to get blamed for it. Because somebody brought that up, and I'm like, yeah, if we want to get rid of insurance, then you have to rely on the computer to do all those things for you. Some people don't like the idea of the car driving, but we don't want to lose any of the jobs, either of these people. So we pretty much still have to have somebody in there. if the car gets a flat tire, if whatever may happen. It's pretty necessary to still have drivers in the vehicles, I believe. So I don't want people to say, well, it's going to eliminate all those things. I kind of want an individual to still be in those cars. I know Lyft and Uber were probably planning on not having individuals in the cars and just having them drive themselves. This initiative is not going to be for that. This initiative is about having someone in there, but basically the car is going to drive itself. And you're just there to protect the car. Think about it, an Uber or Lyft. If you don't have a person in there, what's to stop people from doing whatever they want in the car? You need a person in there to make sure people aren't just, doing anything to the car. Think about it. So you just need people in the car. But this is going to make things so much safer that's what this is all about, the safety. And we're going to get to that. But I want to keep going down my list the way I wrote it out so I don't forget anything. We want to have car replacement for low-income families and individuals. So if you don't meet a certain threshold and you've got an old car that can't be retrofitted, we want to have just replacement cars. Now, they're not going to be great cars, but they're going to be self-driving on the network. And because we don't want people to feel like they can't have a car because they can't afford a car, So we don't want to take that away. But in the long run, this will actually allow more people to have cars because it's going to eliminate the need for insurance companies. That is the one thing that will go away. Car insurance as a main thing. You'll still probably need it for theft and fire and damage type of things, but you won't need vehicular type of insurance. And we're going to talk about this. This is why this stuff is so amazing. When my friend brought it up, I'm like, it's astronomically going to be beneficial to the country and society exponentially. The idea just blows my mind. That's why I'm going to keep telling you the stuff that we have planned. Now, at 8 years from this plan, which probably we want to start in 2027, let's say, because we're kind of close to 2026. So we'll say 2027. So we want to implement this stuff by 2037. At 8 years, failure to have a self-driving car will result in warnings from the police. So if you get pulled over, you won't get a ticket, but you'll get a written warning that they keep track of. This is to make sure people don't have the excuse of saying, I didn't know I had to get a self-driving vehicle. After you've gotten bunches of, you'll never get more than a warning, but it is a hassle, as one my friend brought up, of getting pulled over, them running your record, maybe finding you were drunk or drugs on you, or you have a weapon, or there's a warrant for you. They'll find things out about you in that way. And you'll keep getting these citations that don't cost you anything, but they do go on your record. So if you have 20 citations by the time this thing goes into effect in 10 years, they'll be like, there's no excuse for you to have not, got a self-driving car by now. Because 10 years is where we want it to be mandatory. If you don't have self-driving by then, your car will be impounded and destroyed, or money will be made from it and just taken. They're not going to just destroy it. They'll probably make money from the stuff, however they do recycle it, but you're not going to get that money. The government will. And that's kind of to force this to happen. California's okay with forcing everybody to go electric. So when my friend brought this up, I'm like, well, why can't we force everybody to go self-driving then? I mean, they're just making their rules up as they go along. I guess we can do the same thing, right? Yeah. This is about saving lives, and their thing about global warming is about saving lives, right? But they're talking about saving lives somewhere into the future. I'm talking about saving lives right now. So that's what we're going to dive into now, baby. This is the best part, okay? I gave you all the specs of the basic deal, and we're going to examine more stuff. I'm going to remember stuff. I'm going to think about stuff. But now we're getting into the big thing here. After 10 years, you won't be able to bring a car into the U.S. that is not self-driving. So it's just not going to be allowed in from Mexico or from Canada. When you're trying to cross the border, if your car's not self-driving, it's not going to be able to come in. All right? That's just going to be the way it is. In the U.S., 40,000 people die a year from car accidents, okay? People say, well, 40,000 is not that many. Well, isn't one too many? 40,000 people a year is a lot, okay? All right, now there are 6 million crashes, okay? Each one of those crashes causes time in blocking traffic from going, okay? The police have to go out there, paramedics, fire trucks, all that stuff. Everybody gets jammed up, because of these accidents, which would not happen anymore because of self-driving. So you can't just say it's about the 40,000, because look at how many crashes there are. 6 million. 6 million, okay? All right, next thing. 5.2 million injuries. So out of those 6 million crashes, 5.2 million people get injured. That's a lot of injuries, okay? People have to go to the hospital, and there's more stuff that you have to deal with, okay? And in five years, worldwide, 10 million people die. 10 million people in 5 years die in the world, all right? That's a lot, all right? Now, in a day in the U.S., 100 people. 100 people a day die. You might say, well, that's not that too many. If it's one of your relatives or friends, it's going to devastate you. I just heard from one of my friends that one of her friend's daughters at the age of 21 died. And she's got her daughter at her place right now, and it just devastated her to think about that her friend just lost a daughter, and her daughter's like that same age, and it could have been her daughter, So 100 a day, people are like, wow, that's a lot, when it could be. And if it's somebody close to you, you're going to be like very hurt, okay? I'm trying to see what the other thing I wrote down was, because there's something about 3 million. Can't remember what that's about. Injuries a day for the U.S., 6,800. 6,800 injuries a day. Those are people that might not be able to work now because they've been hurt. Who knows if they've been disabled somehow because of this? Maybe they have a limp now. Maybe something else happened to them. That's a lot of injuries. The 10-year thing is what I wrote down. So in 10 years, the U.S. loses 3 million people. 10 years, 3 million. That's a lot. Now you're like, ooh, that's a lot. Worldwide, I believe it was 10 million we would save in 5 years, okay? So these are big numbers, okay? The other thing you have to think about is, I spaced for a minute. I hate it when I freeze up like that. Because I was right on to thinking about something when I was talking about the injuries a day. And it goes from the 3 million people. Well, the fact that we would save so many lives, the property damage that is going to be stopped will be incredible. Oh, I know now I remember what it was. Drunk driving will be a thing of the past, Technically, you probably shouldn't be the one that's sitting behind the wheel when you should be the emergency person. But as long as you don't mess with anything, the car should just drive you home. Maybe they should have a thing on it where you can say, I'm really not sober enough to drive, but I still need to get home. Don't rely on me as the emergency person. And if the emergency function needs to activate, there'll just be something where the car just stops, and puts on its hazards or something, kind of thing. Because when he brought up the drunk driving thing, I was like, that's enormous. And we didn't even look up how many drunk driving accidents there are and stuff, or people that get in trouble for it, kind of thing. But these are numbers that you don't think about. But that's why this initiative that my friend kind of thought about, and then we just started talking. I can't really take credit for it. He said he gave me credit for it. He was the one that came up with it. And then the more we talked about it, we're all just throwing in our bits and stuff. We constructed this kind of together. And it's the more I think about all the benefits. And we started thinking about things like, what about a boat ramp? How would you back the boat into a boat ramp? They don't have lines and stuff. And he's like, that's what the first year is for. That first year, they got to figure that out. Do they have to paint lines? What do they have to do? And he's like, maybe GPS is the solution for that. Because with boat ramp areas, generally, it's an open area, so you don't have to worry about it being hidden from the satellite. Maybe that could be GPS, And he said maybe the boat trailers have to have cameras put on them that work in conjunction with your vehicle. That's, again, why that first part that we're talking about is so important. That's almost why it needs to be open source. You know how RCA, originally, all the stereos had different connectors, and you could not buy one brand and another brand and put them together. And RCA was like, everybody can use ours. We'll just make one, and you guys can all use it. And everybody started doing that. And they were known forever as RCA plugs, almost, okay? I think they changed it later, but for a long time, everybody called it RCA, And it made their name a big name. Think about it. So that's another reason it's beneficial to have these things work together. They got free by letting everybody do that. Their name got super recognized because you said, oh, it's RCA connection. All right, brilliant, right? So that's part of the initiative, that you have to work together into this system. But it is a system that can be done. The other thing that made me think about it, I almost need to take a sip from here so I don't keep smacking. The other thing that I saw would be interesting is the Skyway is what made me think about this. Because with the flying car, they're going to have the Skyway, which basically the computers are going to fly your car in the sky. Nobody's going to be doing that. It's, again, the only way they can make that stuff work. It's too hard right now for air traffic controllers to even maintain planes. Can you imagine trying to maintain cars? So it won't be like Back to the Future. It'll be like you go to an airport or a skyport, whatever they call it, and you can drive there, but once you get there, your computer takes you to another skyport where you land, and then take over once you're on the ground. Nobody's going to really be driving when you're up in the air. This is going to be almost the same plan. You're really not going to be driving the car. You're going to be sitting back there, sitting in it just in case. But really, nobody should ever have to drive the car again. This will fix all the accidents. Our accidents will go from 6 million to like under 1,000, I bet. Okay? And eventually almost down to under 100, the better the technology gets. My friend already told me about the GMC drive system they have that already has a very impressive map system. It beats everybody's map system. So we need to start with that system properly, and everybody needs to input in and start building off of that. If that's the best map system, that's what we need to go with, And we can see all these accidents disappear. And where America starts, the world follows. This is revolutionary here. This is so much bigger than the thing with the electric cars. This is talking about saving millions of lives, okay? Stopping people from being injured in the millions, okay, as well, okay? I mean, and the amount of time that is going to be saved because of not having to deal with these accidents is going to be revolutionary, okay? Like, there's so much traffic that gets backed up whenever there's an accident. The reason I always say I couldn't be a policeman is because I would get there and I'd be like, okay, let's take some pictures and move this stuff stat. I want to get this done in like 5 minutes. Get them pictures and move this stuff. Look at how long these lines are getting. They're only getting longer the longer we sit here. But it seems like whenever the police show up, they're like, let's take some pictures and let's see what we got here. What happened to you? What happened? Get the pictures and move that stuff. The whole point is get that traffic flowing again, okay? Because when you have backups, more accidents happen. Everybody's cruising along, and all of a sudden they got a break, and they're trying to get around, and you need to get that traffic flowing again. They don't ever do that. So this would be revolutionary. This is unbelievable. Think about all the stuff this would fix. You wouldn't have road rage anymore, okay? No more road rage. There was also a thing where they were talking about the system when there are extreme backups in certain areas. The lights could compensate for that by letting them stay green longer to get that area going, because maybe the other way there's hardly any traffic, and it can sense that, so it just makes this stuff go, 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 and these other ones, it makes them wait a little bit longer, but that way you clear the part that's really backed up. This kind of stuff is revolution. The guy that came up with Segway, and he said, this is going to be like so amazing. It's going to just change everything. And it hasn't changed anything. You see anybody still using that crap? No, because they were too expensive. It was freaking ridiculous. And no one wanted to, they weren't practical. This here will be revolutionary. I am not overstating what this will be. Think about it. No more people dying from... How many people have that died in a car accident? At least been in a car accident. I know people that have died, not personally, but I know the people that know the people, and it crushes those people, when a person is taken from... Because a lot of times they're young, and they would have never died if not for that car accident. There's crazy stuff. Drunk driving, usually. And it ruins people's lives. The person that was drunk that killed somebody and the family of the person that died. That guy's going to jail, for, vehicular manslaughter. And the other people lost their loved one. This would stop that. It's over the park, unbelievable. I'm looking at my time. We're doing pretty good. I'm really to end. I think I've said most of the stuff I wanted to say. It'll stop. Collision repair people will probably go out of work, but they'll have other jobs like repairing the systems that may not work, or adding cameras to cars, or they'll have to find something else because there will be a lot less collision. But a lot of times cars get destroyed and they're totaled and there is no collision repair, So it's like that part of the business there is and like I said, the need for insurance for cars. There'll still be some sort of insurance for like theft and fire and that kind of thing. You'd still need some kind of insurance, but not for getting into accidents with people, which was never fair anyways, because a lot of times they'll have issues where they say it's no fault, and it is somebody's fault, but they say, oh, it's nobody's fault. Where here, it's going to be they'll be know exactly whose fault it was. It's going to be one of those computers' fault, unless you took over, and then it'll be your fault. What do you guys think of my North America driving in the way we want to make this infrastructure, driving infrastructure, self-driving infrastructure for North America? Do you think this is possible? I think it is. I think this is something we can do, and I would just be amazed at what we can do, In 10 years, we would save 3 million people's lives. Is that not worthy of something we can do? I think we need to do this. This is a brilliant thing. Self-driving for the entire country and Canada can be done, and we can do it in 10 years if we all work together. And it will save so many lives. Be with me, people. This is the Cat Cast. You have heard Cat Kennison. I love bringing you this stuff. Cha-ba-cha! We're going to do it again tomorrow. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but it'll be something good. Be here for it. Thank you, guys. I love you. Bye now.